Now this next line is going to look a little odd. Let me go ahead and type it first. Okay, let's look at the sentence that I've typed out. First I have this, meaning that I'm referring to my window, and then I have layout root. When I bound my data context, I bound it to the layout root, not to the window itself, so I need to tell the .NET framework I'm not interested in a window, I'm interested in one of its children. Then I use getValue. GetValue is a method defined in the Windows Presentation Foundation that allows you to retrieve any dependency property. Now what's a dependency property? Let me switch back over to Blend, and the dependency properties are any of the properties that appear over here in the Property Inspector. Opacity, horizontal alignment, any of these are dependency properties. So I can use getValue to retrieve any property from any element on my artboard to bring it into my code so I can interact with it. GetValue, however, returns an object. It could be a number, it could be a brush, it could be anything I want. So by specifying here at the end as WordGame, I'm telling it that the object that I'm going to return, I specifically want to treat it as a word game. Now some folks out there may be familiar with how the .NET framework works. You might be wondering why I didn't cast this to a word game. The reason is using as here will return a null if the getValue returns something that can't be cast to a word game instead of throwing an exception. I don't want to deal with exception handling right here, so I'm using a shortcut. Now I've got my object as a word game, the only thing remaining is to return it. So finally what I've got here is I've created my own field on window 1 that whenever I call it will go to the Windows layout root and retrieve the data context property off the grid. Remember that discussion we had earlier that talked about the specific instance of the data context? Now this myGame property will always have that same exact instance. So now I can go ahead and access it. Let's roll down, and here's my start word game method. I'm going to type this because the field that I created is on window 1. I'm going to type myGame because that's the name of the field that I just created, and now I can call any of the methods. In this case, I want to use start new game, which already happens to be highlighted. Press return, my open and close parentheses, my semicolon, and save. Now when we switch back to Blend and press F5, we can go to Game, Start New Game, and now you can see my timer is rolling down and my game is actually running. The next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and hook up the control to submit a new word. I'm going to start the game again, and watch when I go in here and type a word. I can press return if I want to, I can click the button if I want to, but nothing's actually submitting the word, so I can't get any points and nothing is responding. That's because I haven't hooked any of my controls up to the submit word method. Let's hook that up next.